good evening or good night, depends on where you're coming from. My name is Dr. James Wakiru. I'm the editor-in-chief of Lubezine Magazine. Lubezine Magazine is a Pan-African professional magazine that entails bringing information about lubrication and maintenance, especially to the African market. So we are able to reach out to the end users, the base oil suppliers, the lubricant manufacturers, and anyone that is involved in the complementing industry. So one of our goal and agenda or strategy is basically to also disseminate information through webinars, as we are doing tonight, this afternoon. So this afternoon, we are privileged to have Stephen Ezendiokwere. That's yeah, we call him Steve. I think it's easier. And from Nigeria, very experienced, as Miriam has alluded. So I would like just read a brief profile of Steve before I give him an opportunity to introduce himself. Steve is a distinguished chartered chemist, tribologist, and lubrication engineer with over 30 years of expertise in lubricants application, sales, marketing, and machinery lubrication management. He is a chairman of lubricant committee in Meman and a senior manager at 11 PLC, where he drives the adoption of Mobil industrial lubricants in Nigeria's manufacturing and industrial sectors. He is known for his technical expertise and leadership, and he has contributed to asset reliability and cost-effective maintenance in industries like cement, power, oil and gas, and mining, and others. He holds a BSc in industrial chemistry, an MBA in marketing management, and numerous certifications, including a certified maintenance and reliability professional. His professional affiliations include ICON, SMRPs, STLE, IMC. Thanks so much. Welcome so much and thanks for finding time to come over. We'll be talking about what goes after you purchase a lubricant, basically the support a customer would expect beyond the supply of a lubricant. But to start us off, maybe I'll ask Steve, what is the importance of lubricants and lubrication to asset maintenance and management?
The importance of lubricant in asset maintenance and management is to help the machine serve you better, to enthrone what we call reliability in the operation of your assets. Remember, when you talk about assets, you're talking about physical assets, which has to do with the equipment or machine. There's the human asset too. So programs help the assets to perform optimally. So, and for you, the lubricants help the asset to perform optimally, supported by some form of condition monitoring or the other. Quality, preaching quality is not enough. Quality goes with some services that will help you drive extra mileage in the use of lubricant.
And I think it's very important because you're talking about performance. You're talking about what my equipment, my asset will really work. And if you put yourself in the shoes of a customer who is purchasing lubricants, what really is in the mind of that customer when he or she purchases a lubricant from you?
Well, if a customer that buys lubricant from me, his expectation is that the product I'm giving to him will perform. It's just performance that will be his expectation. And if there's any side effect, he expects you to tell him. So the key consideration is that the product you have preached or marketed to him will perform as promised. So his performance is key primary thing to that customer.
And what could cause the performance? Not talking about the quality of product. For example, your product is good. It's good quality, meeting the standards. But what other things could cause the performance not to really to meet the customer's requirements when he has the product and he wants to use it?
What could jeopardize performance of a product is if not properly managed. In other words, you have purchase a quality product from your seller, and at the end of the day, you store it wrongly. You're jeopardizing. So contamination could be a problem that will breach that expectation of performance. So if you don't manage it well, if you don't store it well, if you don't know how to apply it, or if you have bought the wrong product, sometimes people will buy the wrong product. And then when there's a problem, and that's why in our system, in Mobil, for example, we don't believe in what we call the equivalent chart. We must, because if you look at the equivalent chart, maybe you're using the wrong product. If I suddenly translate that product you're using to the equivalent of Mobil brand, the problem you have might continue. I may say the Mobil product is not good. So you need to understand the performance metrics of the machine and be able to give what can serve the person well.
So I kind of try to see that beyond just you supplying the lubricant, there's more that you have to still continue providing the customer.
Yes.
Yeah. So what are these after sales engineering support services we are talking
which
about?
is the essence of this program, beyond dropping a drum of lubricant to customer location, because you have preached quality to the customer. You know, modern maintenance now requires some programs to enable you drive mileage from every molecule you burn in the engine oil. So some of those programs will involve, key among them that is common, which is universal in nature, is what we call oil analysis. Talking about oil analysis, the in-service oil. Remember, you're analyzing oil already inside the asset, inside the equipment. So that is a key program. Another key program is contamination control. Another key program is doing plant survey. Plant survey will give you, throw the plant open to you, and to give you an idea if how they manage the lubricant and lubrication in that plant. If they're doing the wrong things, you will see it in the plant survey. And that's why at the end of the plant survey, you come out with a comprehensive report that will guide them on lubrication, on management of lubricant and greases. And you can go a step further by throwing out what we call lubrication chart that will properly guide the plant to how to maximize benefits from every molecule of lubricant they burn in their assets. So there are a number of programs. You can sometimes when you do plant survey, the key thing you do is to follow it up with a training. Because in the survey and by interacting with the machine operators, maintenance engineers, and people that work in that plant, particularly people that procure, that's the procurement department, bring them into a class, let them know the benefits of going for quality. Price should be secondary. Primary is the quality. Can this product deliver as promised? Then before you talk about price, what the general challenge of a quality lubricant is the initial cost. If you're able to overcome the initial cost and invest, at the end of the day, you have saved the company money by buying what is cheap and draining it off so often. Quality product will stay longer, and to make quality products stay longer, you support it with some of these engineering service programs.
Yeah, what about storage? And because sometimes the customer doesn't know how to store the product, and maybe it can cause a problem.
Key decision or key recommendation when it comes to packaged product storage is to store under a shade. If you're not fortunate to have a shade where you store, maybe you can lie the drums down. But greases must go under a shade. You can lie the drums down, and then the drums, that is what we call 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock arrangement, where the chine is lying horizontally across each other, not necessarily on the dipping on the ground where there could be flooding. So you light the drum guard. The alternative again, if it's in the open, is to cover them with shade, cover them with tarpaulin, so just cover the drum so that it does not accumulate water, so that each drum does not accumulate water stored outside.
And beyond
in that way, protected the integrity of the product inside the drum.
And I think that really helps a lot because you may have contamination because of the way you store the product.
Exactly.
And I think there are also other customers who have so many kind of products, and sometimes they are unable to know which product am I going to use where. What kind of support can you offer there? They have numerous.
When you have a product that you may no longer identify know the identity of that product, the best thing to do is to run oil analysis.
Yeah.
Take a sample to the quality certified lab, and then let them check the oil for you, and then we'll advise you what to do if the product is still good or not. And that's why even sometimes when we recommend the storage, we recommend that the drums should be identified by their grade. For example, in engine oils, you label it, say these are engine oils. And when you talk about engine oil is a generic name. What kind of engine are you talking about? Are you talking about gas-fired engines, diesel-fired engines, or petrol-fired engines, or even kerosene-fired engines? So you identify them in that order. Gone are days when you do by color. And I think a lot of people are educated now. In those days, you use color. So people will know if you say this is yellow drums are for diesel-fired engine, for example. Red drums are but now you clearly label it and display it. So people not working, or somebody that's not working in the storage, in the warehouse or where lubricants are stored, will be in a position to walk in there, pick the exact product required for his own operation.
Tell us more about product rationalization or customer, and how can you help a customer to rationalize the products?
Rationalization comes in, it's a way of managing costs, maintenance costs. For example, and it was on the understanding that there are lubricants with multiple functions, multiple applications. If I may use engine oil, for example, for it, that's what we call API, and that's what we call SAE. SAE talks about the viscosity of the oil. Bear in mind, viscosity is the most important single characteristic of any lubricant, be it engine oil, be it gear, be it hydraulic oil, be it transmission oil. Viscosity is key. It's the first thing you consider when selecting a lubricant before you go to the quality. Quality tells you about the technology behind this asset. Is it a modern technology, old technology, and things like that. So if the viscosity says use an SAE say 15W40, for example, and in 15W40, there are API classification that talks about quality that differ from one to the other. So, for example, you run a fleet account where you have cars, trucks, and so on and so forth. And in the cars, you have cars that use petrol as their fuel. In the trucks, you have trucks that use diesel and so on. And you are buying a lot of petrol-fired engine oils, a lot of diesel-fired engine oil. You can now rationalize so that they can use one engine oil, to run both the fuel and the petrol and the diesel, as the case may be. So there are lubricants that have multi-applications, multi-functions. That is where the rationalization comes in. So a situation, a company is spending so much money buying diesel-fired engine oil, petrol-fired engine oil, it can rationalize to one. In so doing, you have cut his expenses by 50%. Again, supporting such rationalization with oil analysis can even go a long way to still drop his cost of maintenance when it comes to lubrication.
Thanks. And for the people in the industrial sector, how could you apply rationalization in the industry?
For the people in the industrial sector, rationalization works with a product upgrade more. If you have an opportunity and go to a customer, and again, the issue of multi-functions capability of certain grades will come into play. You go to a customer that is using, for example, one particular conventional lubricant. When I say conventional, I mean mineral lubricants. And you now give him, for example, a hydraulic that is synthetic or premium in nature compared to what he's using. He can apply it to other units of equipment that are using lower grade hydraulic oils, for example, that is maybe they've segmented the machinery unit such that this unit use this particular grade, this unit. You can use one grade to lubricate the entire chain. And key thing, when you take that step, always support it to one condition monitoring program or the other. Key among them is the oil analysis. Lubrication training depends on where the gaps are. And that's why I said when you run a plant audit or plant survey, as the case may be, it gives you an opportunity to know the plant very well. Because any plant that throws her door open to you coming to run a lubrication audit It's an opportunity to interact with the maintenance team. It's an opportunity to interact with the operations team. It's an opportunity to interact with anybody that interfaces with the application of lubricant. From your discussions, from the practices you see on ground, it will tell you a lot if this organization needs some form of training. And in that process, you should be able to identify the key trainings that are required. If it comes to programs implementation, like I said, I'm happy the result turned up, given user oil analysis over 80%, which confirms what is the most popular program. Some people, once they are running user oil analysis, they are comfortable with it. But beyond user oil analysis, there are issues. Remember, in a user oil analysis, it might come to a situation where issues of overheating are identified, friction that's a result of overheating. And remember, thermography can even help you to pick it up. So there's a program that's called thermography. So in the essence of running the user oil analysis, running the plant audit, you'll be able to know whether the level of training you want to offer has to do with fundamentals of lubrication. And fundamentals has a lot to do the making of lubricant, the quality, SAE, because people mix up SAE with API. SAE has nothing to do, it's not conveying the message of quality. It's only conveying the message of thickness, or what we call viscosity. But API conveys the message of quality. And quality is driven by the technology behind the asset you want to run. And that is why in the lubrication industry, formulations are changing every day. If you are used to using Mobil lubricant, there are Mobil lubricant names that have changed over time in the last 2 years. But we still have that problem of people still ordering products based on the old name, not knowing the name has changed because of some improvements in the quality, new additives that come into play that are part of the formulation. So it's through plant audit, you know the type of teaching or training you are going to run. Are you running training on gas engines? Are you running training on turbines? Are you running training on gear oils? Are you running training on hydraulics? So it's a function of what you have found out. Or a team on their own saying, we have new hires and that are very critical to the operations, that these new hires need to go through this training, and they'll come up with share a topic with you to come around and take the team through. Some require trainings on oil analysis, because even oil analysis is the most important after sales service. But I tell you, sometimes it's delegated to people that are not knowledgeable. In Nigeria here, there are people we call IT interns. Some engineering students that left university for 3 months, 6 months, come to companies to do what they call practical orientation of their course. You discover in some plants from experience, even in cement plants, oil and gas, oil analysis sampling is delegated to such people. Remember, the oil analysis thing is garbage in, garbage out. If you sample wrongly, you get the wrong result. That is not a true reflection of the conditions of the assets you sampled. So sampling requires knowledge. Therefore, some companies will tell you, come and run training for us on oil analysis. And again, having oil analysis result is not enough. Can you interpret the result? Again, some companies requires run training on oil analysis and the interpretation of the result. For every parameter tested, that parameter is conveying a message that will be useful to the maintenance professional in managing the asset. So training is a function of what we found out during audit, plant audit, or what the maintenance team or reliability team in a company finds out within their team that are gaps that need to be closed through training.
So Steve, I would want you take us through a case where you provided some after-sales support. You may not indicate which customer it is, but just a case that you provided some after-sales support which significantly improved the equipment reliability and performance.
Okay, we've had experiences of cases where we upgraded performance and then came up with some substantial savings that we calculated into dollar. So, but since when you engaged me, you said I should use the cement plants as a test case, because the entire cement plants in Nigeria, we are covering them. So we have very good examples to cite. Let me cite an example of what we did in a cement plant, and I'm not going to mention them like you said. And since I didn't get clearance from them to do that. It's a case of persistent overheating that led to frequent replacement of lubricant that increased the cost of managing that asset. And that asset has to do with what they call ID fan in a cement company. It's the induced draft fan. I stands for induced. D stands for draft fan. Induced draft fan is located between electrostatic precipitator and the stack in the cement plant. It consists of electric motor, coupling, and bearing housing. ID fans creates constant air draft, lower air pressure than the atmospheric pressure that is required for the operation, and it supplies air for the combustion of fuel in the kiln. So this is a very critical machinery unit in that plant, and that plant, they have about 4 or 5 ID fans because of the number of lines they had. So the challenge they had was frequent bearing failures. The challenge was frequent bearing failures. So when they reach out to us, luckily they were not using any Mobil lubricant, they were using a third-party lubricant. I don't want to mention the names, that's why I said third party. So the first thing we did to take a study of the area, demanded for the oil analysis of the machine, of the fan, which they shared with us. And luckily, the oil analysis did not tell us. Oil analysis keep pointing out there's something wrong because of the things that were flagged by alert. But because the maintenance team or the operations team didn't want to slow down operation, they prefer to be changing oil and buying new bearings. So we made a recommendation. And the oil they were using is an ISO VG68 oil. So we made a recommendation of a synthetic Mobil brand called Mobil SA626. And when we made that recommendation, after few months of running the ID fan, the temperature quickly dropped to the amazement of the maintenance team and the operation people. So issues of overheating ceased. Issues of frequent replacement of lubricants, because we made that recommendation, we supported it with our own oil analysis. Then our oil analysis used to be called Signum Oil Analysis, but today Mobil Oil Analysis is known as Mobil Serve Lubricant Analysis. So we supported it with Signum program, and at the end of the day, results were coming out clean, good. To the extent they extended what they used to do, they drain oil at about 3,000 hours. They now extended it to 18,000 hours. You can see the change. So at the end of the day, we calculated some cost of what we have saved them, and they were glad to sign it. And what we saved them within that period of using Mobil SA, which they have continued to use today. This thing happened about 3-4 years back. They've continued to use it today. We saved them over $10,000 for the period we focus on running this calculation we did. And today, I tell you, we supply 100% of the plant. Not manning the plant is not, let me not mention that. The plant has this practice of signing contract with a certain supplier for lubricant because of where they came from. But we're able to penetrate the plant with services. From that ID fan, we're able to extend lubrication supply and services to other units of the plant. And they're happy with us, and we visit them from time to time. Because one thing, we need to follow up with the application of our lubricant, and that's what program has done for us. Anywhere we're running program, we have a duty to follow up, to go there and see how they're doing. And if there are problems, we put heads together. We're working as a team. It's a mutual relationship. So that's an example I can share. There are more to share if there's need for that.
Thanks. I think what we are coming out here is that beyond the supply of lubricants, the customers should be able to open up that we as the lubricants engineers, lubricant suppliers, can provide more beyond that lubricant. We'll help them in terms of doing an audit, help them to pick out the gaps, and help them to bridge those gaps and save them a lot of money, as well as improve their efficiency. So thanks for that example. I think it's a clear example. And I know most of the industrial companies or players, if you're able to solve a problem that is really a pain point for them, then they are able to open up even for you to supply everything for. So I think it's a very good thing.
James, in our industry, many people are suppliers of lubricant. There are a number. Our country, Nigeria, now is part of the meeting we had in Abuja this week. There are a number of lubricants that are coming into Nigeria from Middle East. Let me use that as a typical example. Some of these lubricants, you cannot authenticate the quality until you take them to the lab. So there are issues of failures here and there, engines running, having problems here and there. Before it becomes late for some people to realize they're using the wrong oil. So for us, as a company, as Mobil, if not everybody many people supply lubricants. Their own is to drop the oil and walk away. Only very few go beyond dropping the oil and going inside their plant to check or to monitor how their products are doing. Checking and monitoring how your products are doing involves going along with some services, going along with some programs to help the customer add some value in the customer's operation, to help the customer optimize production and have good return on investment. It takes commitment. It takes interest. Again, for programs to run in a plant, remember the plant must open her door for you to come in with assurances that you're not here as a spy, you're not a spy, you're not an auditor that's going to expose the operation, that you want to work with the reliability team or the maintenance team to make their job better. And some good work we have done in some cement plant has taken us to other cement plant, because the cement plant, they talk to each other. They know themselves, they talk to each other. So you keep getting this invitation to come, particularly when there's a problem. You solve a problem. From solving a problem, it opens the door for you to do more business in such plants. And that's what we have been doing over these years.
Thanks. Do you provide vendor managed inventory in the cement plant? Because I think that's one of the things here in most of the other countries we've seen. A lot of cement plants would want vendor managed inventory where consignment stocking comes in. I don't know, in your sector.
Yes, we do vendor managed inventory. We sit down with, for us in the business in Nigeria, we sell our lubricant through accredited distributors, and these distributors are knowledgeable personnel that have the technical competence with their team to deploy programs. Though program deployment, we handle it directly as Mobil, as Double One, assisted by the lubrication team or lube engineers working with the distributors. So we have records of distributors even in the cement plant, having vendor managed arrangement with some plants. And you know what it does for you? It gives you, it excludes that plant from being infiltrated by any supplier, because this is product you keep at the disposal of the plant. They manage the storage. When they need, you do this going by the critical products they need, key products. Not every product you want to store. Maybe product they may not use up to 5 drums in a year. Why do you want to keep it? The one they use regularly is what you need to store. So when they take, they manage the inventory. That's why it's called vendor managed inventory. Doing that has excluded competition from coming to such a plan. So we have instances of our distributors that brought it to our knowledge that are running vendor managed inventory, and we support them in doing that. There are conditions that go with it, both from the plant and the supplier. So those conditions have been judiciously maintained or adhered to as the inventory remains in the customer location.
But what are the benefits for such an arrangement to the customer?
The benefit is key. The has product availability at his fingertips, because sometimes he may need a particular for a customer that has poor management of inventory. That's what we call reorder. I've been involved in establishing reorder for different products for different customers. So what it does is that you need engine oil or you need a gas engine oil, for example. It's already somewhere in the corner of your plant. You go and take it and communicate to customer that out of the 50 drums you get, we have used 10. It's the responsibility of the supplier to bring that 10. So it makes product available to him at any time he needs it, like placing order and waiting for truck. Something, logistics might go wrong. You might not get that product when you need it, and you now place your company or your plans or your assets in form of jeopardy. So that is one. Two, it makes you to manage your procurement cost. Because in vendor management inventory, you already have an understanding with the supplier when to make payment. There's no suddenness in making payment because the product is there. You take it. If the understanding you pay after 1 week or after 2 weeks, you already appropriated the necessary fund. And if you need to borrow from the bank, you are borrowing not at an emergency that will trigger the interest rate up, but you are borrowing based on some level of comfort that you can negotiate interest. So there are a number of advantages that come with having product in your stock, so long as the safety of that product is guaranteed. Because you, the plant that's keeping the product, must assure the supplier that the product in our warehouse or in our compound or in our premises is secured. So these things are usually written down. That's usually a documented agreement that supports vendor managed inventory, and everybody will keep to his own terms of that agreement.
Awesome. Thanks so much. A last question before we go to the Q&A. As we know, every sector of the economy, we just seen a lot of change, a lot of evolution, emerging techniques, tools coming in. I'm sure even in the lubrication sector, where pertains to lubrication engineering services, is not left out. So could you just put some light on the emerging tools or systems that people can leverage to improve their asset health monitoring?
Okay. Luckily, I just came back from a sponsored trip to the US in Chicago last month. And it has to do with machinery lubrication organized by NORIA. And I can tell you, part of the discussion in that meeting, so this question is coming timely, has to do with these emerging tools. Issues of AI, artificial intelligence, has gotten into our industry. Issues of sensors, machine learning tools. There are some softwares that will help you to even interpret data. Data you accumulated through oil analysis, data you accumulated through any of these programs we have mentioned. You just load the software with the data, and you come out with the interpretation of data. So a lot of machine learning tools, sensors, artificial intelligence have come into the industry. That is a learning area for some of us. It's a learning area for some of us. And a lot was said about it, and some were even demonstrated in the course of that conference. It was a 1-week conference in Chicago. We had the privilege of watching some robots being demonstrated how to do certain things in a how do I put it? In a plant that is not rare, in a stage. And somebody was using remote control to direct the robot. And we're watching, taking pictures. And some of these sensors are things you can install in the plant, in certain areas of the plant. If you want to check overheating, either in the gearbox or bearing, I install it. You are in one corner of your room, so long as there's internet connection. It's called Industrial Internet of Things. Industrial Internet of Things. You stay in one corner of your room or in one corner of the control room to monitor what is going on. What ordinarily in the past you will go there to check yourself. The sensors are passing the message to you, so long as there's Wi-Fi connecting you to that sensor. So there's evolution going on in the industry that we need to keep pace with as professionals in the industry.
Thanks for that eye-opening. I think we will be looking at one of these days for our viewers that we will come up with that kind of topic. Let's talk about the emerging techniques and tools that are here with us and how we could leverage on them to really benefit us.
Right.
Yeah. So thanks so much. I want to take it up to Miriam to take us through the question and answer session. Miriam, over to you.
Thank you, James. And also thank you, Steve, for the wonderful insights you've shared with us. We have a set of questions here, and I think you've already tackled one because someone was asking about looking at the topic, what keeps assets running beyond lubricants supply? Are there available tools or software in use for asset management and tracking? I don't know if maybe you touched a bit on that when you're talking about emerging technologies. I don't know if there's anything you would want to add to that.
Yes, what keeps assets running, like we've been discussing, are the condition monitoring programs and services. There are available tools. There are CMMS, and like I said, there are sensors. There are tools in the industry that is being of relevance now in managing your assets as far as lubrication is concerned. So there are tools in the industry one can lay hand on. Now, some of them may be expensive, but because there are new inventions, with time, the prices will drop. That I know.
All right. The other one, someone is asking, I have seen that this kind of services, what we were discussing in this webinar, are usually offered by lubricant producers themselves, such as Castrol, in other regions. He's asking, is it common for distributors to offer such services in Africa?
Distributors that are equipped, knowledge-wise, can offer it. Why not? If you're equipped, the important thing is having the competence, having the skill. And then why not? You can provide such services. If you're interested, remember I've talked about interest before. Because there are certain things that drive things. If you're not interested, you can take a horse to the stream. You cannot force him to drink the water. So interest must be paramount. If interest is there, you will do everything possible. Even if it means sponsoring yourself in a training that is organized for that purpose, you do it. You deny yourself some comfort, sponsor yourself to acquire the skill.
All right. We have another question on, this is on different parameters. The question is, I noticed some customers, while explaining the results from the oil analysis, they request for parameters to match the result. How do we know the normal ranges to compare the abnormal ones? For example, the normal range for oxidation, nitration, and acid number.
Oxidation, ranges are somehow proprietary. From where I work in Mobil, for example, Mobil does not tell you these are the ranges because it's a system that is all the information required for any particular parameter. You've mentioned viscosity as one parameter now, already built into a program, so that after the analysis, the results are keyed into that program. It is that software that will interpret the result, throw out the result to you based on what is the condemning limits, upper limit and lower limit. If you have exceeded it, you throw out the result and come down again to make some comments to guide you on how to handle that which has gone off limit. So it's not something that is common. Knowing the limits are proprietary, like I said. But if you pick up oxidation, for example, oxidation, are you talking about oxidation for engine oil? Are you talking oxidation for diesel-fired engines or gas-fired engines? So, but what ExxonMobil has done with their product, they give you some level of comfort. What do I mean? Some industries, some companies may say our upper limit is this. ExxonMobil gives some extra benefit of the upper limit to guide you because of the superiority of the additives they use and the kind of base oils they use, which they produce themselves. The base oil is not something you see common in the market. The premium base oil, so the additives are unique on their own. So they give some comfort, level of comfort beyond the upper limit to guide you. If I use, for example, gas engine oil, in Nigeria today, we have a premium gas engine oil we call Mobil Pegasus 1107. The industry put their oxidation at 20, for example. But Mobil Pegasus 1107, if you are using it, it's beyond 20. So we've had some argument with some plants based on a third-party lab they use that threw up oxidation as maybe caution. And then suddenly ExxonMobil lab threw up, that's the same test, sample that were taken under the same condition, but taken to two different labs. Two samples were taken under the same condition. One went to a different lab, one went to ExxonMobil lab. The results were looking different because you may not blame the third-party lab. He has done his own test based on the generic knowledge of 20 as the maximum oxidation for that oil. But for ExxonMobil, they know for Pegasus 1107, 20 is not the maximum value. And that's why the result, it took us a lot to explain to the customer to the extent of sending samples outside Nigeria to international labs to run. And when they came back validating that result that came from ExxonMobil. So it's condemning limits are appropriate, even though I may know some, but I'm not empowered to share them publicly. It guides us, it's part of the trade secret that we use. But the important thing, build trust on the company you're working with. They cannot deceive you.
On the same note, someone is asking for the services that 11 PLC provides. Are they developed by Mobil? For example, Mobil lubricant analysis.
What do you mean developed by Mobil? Sorry, you're not the one that asked the question. 11 PLC has alliance partnership with ExxonMobil. Remember, 11 PLC, by way of knowledge, used to be Mobil Oil in Nigeria. When ExxonMobil exited downstream business, this local company bought it, and they entered into alliance partnership with ExxonMobil. So ExxonMobil provides all the technical support we require, and that's why we're still trading with the name Mobil. So any program we are running today is developed by ExxonMobil, and they give us support in terms of training, in terms of anything we require, make it known to them. They give you the support. If there's any program that comes up now, they will run training for us to equip us with the knowledge to provide it as a service to key customers. It's not as if it's developed by 11 PLC, no. But what we do locally is we develop trainings, topics based on our knowledge of lubrication. We develop topics, and that's why I say when you engage a customer, you know where the gaps are knowledge-wise, and you're able to agree, this, please help us do this. We come back in-house, develop topics, reach out to ExxonMobil, throw that topic across. If they have anything they share, and you can develop something with it, like this presentation now, everything about it, I developed it in answer to that question that formed the topic of this discussion.
Right. If Stevie, you're okay with that, we can also include your email in the chats for anyone who would want to engage with you further away from the webinar. They can do so.
You can share my email, you have it.
Yes, we shall do that in the chats.
You can share my email, you have it, yeah.
Yeah, just a few more questions, then we should be wrapping it up. If I heard Steve correctly, he talked about rationalization in terms of multiple engine fleet using different fuels like gas or diesel, and attempting to use the same type of oil for lubrication purposes. Is rationalization, is the rationalization purpose the same for the same type of fuel? For example, a gas turbine compressor system that utilizes both synthetic and mineral lubricating oils.
For a gas turbine that uses both mineral lubricant and synthetic lubricant, why do you want to still keep mineral in view? Why do you still want to use mineral when you are using synthetic? Synthetic is superior to the mineral. So if you have any strong reason for using mineral, which synthetic can now solve, I doubt. Usually upgrades are done giving you superior products. So why do you want to waste money buying mineral and buying synthetics? Rationalize and use one. And for that typical case, I would recommend you go straight to synthetics instead of still keeping mineral drums around.
A question also, Steve, along the same lines. Someone is asking, when do you recommend a synthetic lubricant in the industry instead of a mineral one?
Sorry, what is the question?
When do you recommend a synthetic lubricant to be used in the industry instead of a mineral one?
Well, the use of synthetics is guided by a number of things. One, how critical is the machinery unit? Is it one of a kind of equipment that once there's a problem in terms of lubrication, that equipment goes, operation will suffer. So for such a machine, we usually recommend you use synthetics so that you reassure yourself of services, optimum services coming from that machine. And two, it's a case of affordability. Remember, synthetics are not cheap. Sometimes the cost is twice or three times or four times the cost of the mineral equivalent. So if you must use it, you must be ready to support it with all the services required. For example, if I use engine as an example, why do I want to use synthetic in a petrol engine or diesel engine that had leakages of fuel into the sump? It first of all has to address such issues. They look minor, but they might affect the integrity or the quality of the product they have in the sump. So if you are sure of your engine, for example, there are people I know using Mobil 1. For example, Mobil 1 is a fully synthetic lubricant. And they don't drain the oil maybe 6 months, 1 year. The message is 1 year. But in doing 1 year, you must make sure that your engine is entered. There is no leakages into the sump and all that. Otherwise, you jeopardize the benefits. It's a waste of money. So there are conditions that guide the use of synthetics. And once you have the willpower to spend money to buy it, we advise, we work with you to ensure that you drive benefits of using it maximally in your operation.
To our last question, I think for the other questions, in the interest of time, feel free to reach out to Steve directly. We're going to share his email. But I see one question that has been repeated several times, which I think is a concern, especially for our African market. And the question is, how do we fight against fake products in the markets? And this cuts across the African continent. How do we deal with counterfeits in the markets?
There are a number of ways to deal with counterfeit. Counterfeits are usually, people fall prey to counterfeit because when they make price, their key parameter in selecting products. When they make price, their key parameter. So know the source of your product. Make sure you're buying from genuine source. We've had instances of adulteration, Mobil brands being adulterated. For all the Mobil lubricant drums you see in the market, they may not really be containing the real Mobil product inside them. Because what people are doing, our empty drums, what do I mean by drums that are being used by customers are becoming too expensive, our empty drums. So why is somebody willing to buy drum at a higher price from you, drum you have used? Find out why. It's not something we tell you to puncture. If you can puncture it. For the gallons, we recommend puncture after use. So the people are going around buying empty drums and putting all manner of rubbish inside in the name of Mobil. So knowing your source is key. Make sure you know the source where you buy product. There was an article I wrote on adulteration that was published. So knowing your source is key, is number one thing. And again, there's what we call barcode, batch number in our drums. Well, again, if you buy the empty drums, that the same batch number may be there. We've had instances where we investigated issues of machine failure. So for people trying to take Mobil to court because they bought our product and their machine failed. At the end of the day, they bought fake. By the time we investigated, they threw the name of the supplier to us. First, we said this person is not known to us, it's not our supplier. Two, we take sample from the remaining collect about 1 liter sample from the remaining product in the drum. Run some analysis, it's not our product. It's not our product. There are various ways of checking. So the key is knowing who supplies you. Don't be carried away by price. Don't be carried away by price because price is what attracts. That we know of a cement plant that bought our product in certain part of the country and the product worth close to 300 million. At the end of the day, the maintenance manager suspected something fishy. He quickly invited us. We went there, collected samples only to confirm that luckily they've not used them. Those products do not belong to Mobil, even though they appear in Mobil drums. But the product inside those drums are fake. So knowing your source is key. And again, don't be carried away by cheap price. because the cheap price that is the attraction to a lot of end users.
Thank you for that, Steve. I think that is a good place to end this conversation, that cheap is expensive when we're thinking about lubricants. And that is all the questions we are able to handle today. Just in case you have any other follow-up questions you would want to address to Steve, we will leave his contact information in the chat. And now I will hand it over back to James to wind up the session for today. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Miriam. Thanks, Steve, for taking us through that session. And Miriam, also you could also put our email address in case they also require. We could make sure that the information gets to them. For us is to say thank you, Steve, for your time.
Thank you.
Very valuable insights in the industry. And I'm sure one of these days, again, we will be able to get back to you and bring you on board again. I want to tell the viewers that all our webinars are usually posted in our YouTube channel, and we've already also put that link on the charts. So feel free to subscribe and be able to see even the previous webinars and also the webinars that will be forthcoming. We publish a Lubezine Magazine every quarter, and we'll be happy also that you can go into our website, subscribe, and you'll be the first to be receiving the publications even before we go to press in terms of a digital version. Every month, we roll out a newsletter with just some few upcoming information from the market that's called Loop Post. Again, we usually send it to our subscribers, so feel free to subscribe. On all our social media handles, we ask that you can also follow us, so that you can also be able to get to know all that is happening. So for tonight, we want to thank you everyone for joining in, and we pray that we'll have another session that's towards the end of next month. And I'm sure we have learned quite a bit, and we want to pray that the Lord blesses also Steve as you continue with your work in Nigeria.
Thank you.
I think now the world is a village. We are basically talking the issues you have in Nigeria, we have them everywhere in Africa. So I think it's very valuable in terms of the insights that we have received today in terms of helping us in the lubrication and maintenance field. So for us is to say thank you, and have a nice day for them that is during the day, and have a nice night for them that is at night. May God bless you, and see you next month.
And bless you too. Thanks so much for organizing this.
Thank you.